Hey, what's up, y'all? It's annoying as Dee, and it's really, really early in the morning, so I'm trying to keep it as low as possible. But what I wanted to come here and talk to you about is getting over your childhood trauma. Now, I have gone through a lot of things, and as a child, um, more mentally, spiritually, some physical. When like my mother and my father, they married, and then it was like a really I guess they moved really fast because my mother had me as a teenager, but it wasn't, she was like 18, and then my father was 23, and he married my mom after they had me, and they were together, I think, for like a year after that, and then they had divorced. And then we ended up moving to like a Section 8 home, and my dad was on child support, and so it's it could be a difficult situation when your mom is a single parent, and I think when you're in a two-parent household, a lot of things can be avoided compared to being in a single-parent household. But then, some people just don't get along. So, and then some people are just, are absent for some reason, while you're growing up, and, those are their choices, and it's not your fault. You know what I'm saying? It's not your fault that you were in that situation. They made their choices. It's not your responsibility to it's not your responsibility to be that other adult as a child. It's not it's not your responsibility to it's just certain things that children shouldn't have to go through that adults are supposed to go through. I just want you to know that don't fall for the victimization. Don't fall for the trauma. I know, like, trauma can be embedded in you, but it doesn't have to be. You can do something about it. You can not fall into that. I would rather you overcome it. Like, there's a trauma. Let's say you have this land, and then you have rocks, you have grass, and you have land without grass, and then you have holes. Don't fall into that hole of trauma. I need you to recognize it and step over it. Or if you have fallen into that hole, I need you to be able to grab onto the roots that are in that hole and get yourself out of there. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you may have to dig a hole within that hole to get out of that hole. Not saying to dig deep, but dig across. Dig across, through, and up. Childhood trauma is filled with manipulation, and when you are manipulated, you start to manipulate. That And then, people call that hereditary, and that's not hereditary. That's actually, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just passed down. It's something that's passed down. Hereditary is when something is in the blood. That is basically like the color of your eyes, your hair, the shape of your nose, the gap in your teeth. That's hereditary. Diabetes, that's not hereditary. That is a continuance of bad habits. That's what that is. And you have to break those bad habits. Eat better. Don't fall for the sodium. You have your good sodium, you have your bad sodium. Your bad sodium is, too much sodium is not good for you, the bad or the good, because the good will dehydrate you. Good sodium comes from the ocean. Bad sodium is chemically made, and that will inflate you. I'm going to do a whole nother video on that. You just have to be more aware of your surroundings when you have dealt with childhood trauma, and not have to fall for those same patterns that you did as a child. It's not your fault that you fell for those patterns. It's just the fact that you had to go through them, and then as an adult, it is your responsibility to avoid those same problems. The best way for you to avoid those same problems and those patterns is to recognize them. You can recognize, the best way to recognize them is in your behavior towards your significant other, your behavior towards yourself, your behavior towards your children, and your behavior towards others. And sometimes you're going to have to check yourself and then recognize it and fix it. I don't want you to feel shameful, because, things happened. I just want you to discontinue the pattern. It's just a pattern, and you have to break it. What else did I want to touch up on? Even like if you're having a death in your, like one of your parents dies or something like that, that's extreme, and you have to watch yourself with that, because that can lead to schizophrenia. And you just have to be really, really careful with your mindset. The best way you can do to keep yourself at peace and not have to fall into that trap is you have to find peace as much as possible. Please just find some peace somewhere, somehow. Go to the library, read some books, read a nice book. I think that really helps with people who are in a catastrophic state of mind. Breathe, go out somewhere, find some air, a clear spot of grass, and breathe. Because it's tough out here. I know it's tough out here. I'm coming to you with this is because I have dealt with this, and I'm trying my best to get over it. And it's not easy. I find myself doing things that I grew up with other people doing, and I have gathered up their habits, and I'm trying to throw those habits away because I don't want them, I don't need them. Most of the time it's stressful, and it's not necessary. You just have to find another way to deal with situations and your problems at hand. And even though your absent parent, even though the second parent may not be there, just because they're not there, it still affects you. Like it's another part of you that is unknown, and sometimes, most of the time, the majority of the time, you need to know that other side, you know. And some people may say that you may not need to know that person, but curiosity is going to get the best of you, and you're going to want to know who that, you know, what's going on with that person. You know, this other person made you, and don't let nobody tell you that, oh, you don't need to see that person, stay away from that person, da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes you just got to find out things on your own, and maybe that person was right, maybe that person wasn't right, and you always need that other side of the story, because you never know what would have happened, because one person tell you one thing and the other person going to tell you another, and then you just put two and two together and you can figure it out. My baby, she's sleeping, but I hear her. I'll be right back. Let me see what's wrong with my baby. Alright, so I'm back. And we were discussing childhood trauma. One of the things that when I started noticing the habits that I picked up throughout my childhood was when I met my husband. And like, I've had the same issues with other boyfriends of mine, but I guess they had gone through the same thing that I was going through, because nobody really picked up on it. But my husband was like, he would just be like, what's wrong with you? Something is wrong with you. And because if I didn't like something that he did, like, I would get really, really hostile. I didn't know how to communicate without getting loud and vulgar and violent. And if he did something I didn't like I just had to put my hands on him. And you know, things started to get ugly with us. And there was a point in time where we were fighting, and we both ended up we went to jail one time. But that still didn't I still didn't, it was like I still didn't learn my lesson. And I had to take some time and realize that there's a better way to communicate other than having to put your hands on somebody. And there's some things that he had to recognize himself too, that I pointed out, that I saw. Like, we just started pointing out things within each other. Like, it doesn't make no sense that you do what you do. It doesn't make any sense that I did what I did. And we just had to come to a common ground and be like, you know, he had to teach me some things. I had to teach him some things. And, you know, it was just like, it's going to be a hard transformation. I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy, because first you have to recognize it. Not saying that you need somebody to point it out to you, but you have to recognize it. And once you recognize it, then, you know, it's time for you to transform. I'm not going to say that it's going to happen overnight, because remember, it took your whole childhood to at least to get these things seeped into you. So what is that? It's about 20 years already. And I met my husband when I was 20. And I'm 32 right now. So we dealt with a lot with each other. And your environment, if you find yourself in an environment that's the same as your childhood, you don't want to be in that type of environment, because all it's going to do is lead you into the same patterns as everybody else that's around you. You want to get yourself away from all of that. And we had to learn that too. We got along better when we were away from everybody, and it wasn't nobody telling us, oh, well, like when you would go and confide into somebody and they'll say, well, do this, do that. He shouldn't be doing that. She shouldn't be saying that. And then we'll come back and now we're all aggravated with each other, and we're trying to take what their notes into consideration instead of just going with how we feel about each other and going off of what how we live with each other, because those people are not living with you. These people are not paying your bills. These people, 9 times out of 10, are going to be jealous of your relationship, especially if you're materialistic. If your materialism is better than theirs, if you have anything that's better than somebody, even if you don't have anything better than somebody materialistically, but you keeping a smile on your face is something that people will find a way to destroy. So you just have to be with people that have the same like-mindedness as you. Childhood trauma is something that we all need to work on. If you didn't go through any childhood trauma, my hat's off to you. You had great parents. And they probably had great parents. So if you're going through childhood trauma, then your parents went through childhood trauma, and then their parents went through childhood trauma. So I'm just saying right here, right now, that we all in this world have to break that pattern. We have to come up with a plan in life, make an inspirational board, write down your goals. That's important. I think another great way to help get over your childhood trauma is to start a journal and write down things that bother you. You can write down the things that you recognize that you no longer want to affiliate yourself with. You can talk to a therapist. You can talk to yourself. Go in the mirror and talk to yourself. I know people say that's crazy or whatever, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get through this shit, and it's gonna take some time. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen overnight. And hopefully you can find a partner that can help you get through this. Or maybe that partner has gone through it too, and you can help them get through it also. Y'all can help each other get through it. And I think that's why a lot of people relationships don't last that long, and everybody ends up with a baby daddy or a baby mama. It's because they, gone through that childhood trauma. They don't know how to be in a committed relationship. They don't know how to say I love you. They don't know how to give hugs. They don't know how to give kisses for no reason. They don't know how to say, hey, I was thinking about you today. They don't know how to be a kind individual to their spouse. Someone who's supposed to be their spouse. And then with guys is like, if they are a cheating man, if you become a cheating man, it's probably because your daddy wasn't around, or he was cheating on your mama. And, you know, a lot of guys, they feel that role that their dad had filled when he was doing what he was doing. And it's like, you don't have to go that route. And then some girls, you know, they do what they do because they don't see their mama do it, or they don't see their grandma do it, their auntie do it, and you don't have to go that route. You don't have to go that route. I could have went that route, but I didn't. I could have been a stripper at 16. I didn't. I got a job at KFC when I was 16, and I was living with a boy at the time. I don't know, I was going through it with my mom, and it was a lot. It was a lot. And then, you know, when you get through your childhood trauma, you just see certain aspects in people that you're like, damn, they really put me through this. And sometimes it could have been avoided. And sometimes people are just selfish. And as I was saying, I got a job at 16, KFC. I was living with a boy. And, you know, some people that were around there were like, you can be a stripper. And some people were like, no, you don't have to do that. And at the end of the day, it was my choice. And I decided not to. I went and I got me a job at KFC. And I was making, $200 every 2 weeks. And I was helping, I think I was paying the water bill. And I just wish I didn't fuck up my money. Like, I wish I had the knowledge about money and how to stack money, you know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to be all materialistic about stuff, you know. And you would think that I had learned my lesson about that. I mean, I did at one point. By the time I got to my daddy's house, when I was 18, because I ended up going back to my mom's house. And then from my mom's house, I went to go stay with my dad by the time I was 18. And then he was telling me I had to pay bills. And I couldn't believe that I had to pay bills because this man, he was not the best dad. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but I did it anyways because I needed a new fresh start. I needed to get out of Miami. At that time, I'm not bilingual. And in Miami, you got to be bilingual. And it was hard for me to find a job. And we were, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. It was just crazy. So, I moved to Orlando. I got 2 jobs. I started saving my money. And then again, people are in your ear. How you got all this money? Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And I ended up listening to them and spending all the money that I had in my bank account. Why did I do that? I don't even know. Like, instead of me having to borrow my dad's car, all the money that I had in my account, I could have went and bought me a car. But me not knowing better and me trying to be popular, and instead I'm at the clubs and I'm buying shoes, I'm buying clothes, I'm buying jewelry. I'm just buying stuff that I'm going out to eat. I'm just, doing stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. But then again, it was like, your surrounding people, when they see a young person on the come up and they're not that age anymore, they tend to get jealous of you. So, and they'll find a way to break your spirit, and they just, they'll find a way to corrupt you some type of way, somehow, some way. And some things that I learned about my dad, I wasn't really proud about. And at that time, I just wanted to save my money and get out of there. And like you can tell, like the vibe was different, especially after I had learned so many of his secrets and stuff. And I was just trying to get out of there. And so I kind of like stayed low to myself. And I was going to the studio and going to school. And then like I stopped going to school. I was working 2 jobs. I was working 2 jobs and going to school at one point. But then I was like, school wasn't doing it for me. And I was going to Everest for criminal justice. And I did like a couple semesters there. But it just, I don't know, the environment at the school wasn't, I don't know. And then I took criminal justice in high school too, but it wasn't at that time. School wasn't for me. It was, but when you have all this outside noise, it's hard to concentrate on school. And I allowed that noise again to disturb me, and you have to learn how not to allow that noise to get in your head. And you know how sometimes when someone is talking to you and it goes into one ear and out the other, that's what you got to do with that noise. Make it go in one ear and out the other. Don't let it sit in your head and marinate in there, you know. So after that, you know, even my dad and I, like, we bumped heads too at one point, a few times. And it's just like, at the end of the day, I'm your child. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm your only child between my mother and my father. But I'm the oldest with my mother, and I'm the oldest with my father. But I'm the only child in between them. And they both had their own childhood trauma, and then it done trickled down to me. And I'm over here trying not to let it trickle down to my kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure that I'm not that parent that, you know, like they were. You know what I'm saying? Due to their circumstances, they had to do what they had to do. And I'm just trying to be as the best parent, the best mommy that I could possibly be with my kids. And sometimes I just see traits in me that I recognize that my mother had when I was a child. And I was just like, I gotta fix that. And sometimes I sit and I talk to my kids, like, you know, and ask them, like, what do you need from mommy? What do you want? Is there something that mommy can do differently? Or is there something that mommy can do that she can be better at? Is there, you know, what do you need from mommy? And they'll tell me. Mommy, sit and play the game with me. Or, mommy, what else? Sometimes they'll say nothing, or sometimes they'll say, I need you to play with me more. That's what I need. You don't play with me like daddy plays with me. I want you to play with me like daddy plays with me. So I've been working on that. So my kids are they're amazing. And they're amazing. They're so great, and I'm so grateful. And there's a lot of things that I want to touch up on with childhood trauma, but it's like, is there enough time in the world? I think so. So after me living with my dad for a couple of years, that's when I met my husband. was like we were a refuge to one another. Like he would tell me about his problems and I'll tell him about mine. And we really connected when it came to music. We love music. What else? Food, cars, clothes, money. I love talking about money. We can talk about money all day. So, and then it hasn't been easy trying to get through the battle of your childhood trauma. It took us some time. It's taken us some time to get over that hill, that mountain. It's not a hill. It's a freaking mountain. It's a mountain, depending on how much trauma you went through. And we went through some mess. So, but at the same time, I had shelter, I had clothes, I had shoes, but still, some things just could have been prevented. So, like I said, I don't want you to be shameful. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. What I want you to do, I want you to be grateful that you have made it this far. I want you to understand that it is a process. I want you to know that you will get through it. And I want you to take your time. Because I need you to be as detail-oriented in your childhood trauma as much as possible. And understand what you are doing and why you did it and where it came from and how to take that out of your system and just throw it out. Don't forget to breathe, pray, eat right. You know, when you're in a better mind state, you tend to eat better. When you're in a bad mind state, your eating habits are really, really bad. So just recognize those little tics and those little triggers. And be aware. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of people's, how people talk to you, especially when they talk to you about other people. And the best thing you can do is love yourself. Love yourself unconditionally. And stay confident. Don't let nobody tell you no different. And stack your money up. Shit, put your money in the bank that collect. Put your money in the bank account that collects interest. Because going through all this mess, that shit'll fuck up everything. It'll fuck up your credit. It'll fuck up your living arrangements. It'll fuck up your money. It'll fuck up shit in your life that if you would have known better, you probably would have did better. But now that you know that Now that you know that this shit is crazy out here, you know, it's up to you to make it a better place. You gotta make yourself a better person and make this whole situation a better place. And just be mindful who you keep around you. And, you know, childhood trauma is a bitch, but you can train her. Train her and put her to work. Simple as that. You can just get rid of it. I would rather get rid of it. Fuck training it. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. So that way you don't pass it down nowhere, you know. That way, you know, you recognize it with your kids and you can change it, and then it don't get passed down to your grandkids and their kids and their kids and their kids. That's it. You just gotta break this pattern. Let's break this pattern, y'all. Let's break this pattern. And I'm gonna let y'all go. I think I've rambled enough, but I will be making another video on what I want to talk about with childhood trauma. Next time I'm gonna just write some ideas down, and so that way this video won't be so long. It's pretty long, but I hope this was insightful for you, and I hope you'll, you know, do what you have to do. In the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm gonna let y'all go on that note. Peace, love, not war.